Hey guys, welcome to the show. If you're joining from YouTube, it's God's Country Outdoors. If you're on TikTok, then Sadie Jane and friends. And as you know, if you're on TikTok, Lucky is not with us anymore. She was playing outside and got attacked by a hawk, and she disappeared. So pretty sure a hawk got her. So this is Shorty. Shorty joined us a couple months ago and doing great. Totally different personality than Lucky, but a cool cat nonetheless. So, and Sadie's running around here somewhere. So we're in the greenhouse today. I'm going to change things up a little bit. It's February 3rd here in Florida. So we are actually getting the itch to do some gardening and such. See, come here, Sadie. Sadie, come. Come here, Sadie. I don't know if you can see Sadie. Let's let you see Sadie. Say hello, Sadie. Say hello. Come here. Come here. Say hello. Say hello. Yeah. Say hello. All right. Ow. So that's Sadie. You can see it still. Sadie Jane and friends, and I'm her friend today. So anyway, today we're working in the new greenhouse. Just got this thing set in place. Going to be hooking up power. Going to be running water into it, getting ready to grow all kind of things. So here's the greenhouse we'll be working on today. Something like an 8x12. Not huge, but big enough to grow quite a bit in. And it's got the wire shelves around it. Just been running a little bit of temporary power in here, just an extension cord so far. But we're going to run power in here today underground. And hey, Shorty, over here we're going to bring up a water line, and then I'll show you outside. We've pretty much trenched it over from here over to where we have water next to a building. And here we've got a little bit of citrus. Got hit hard by the hard cold that we had here a few weeks ago. So wondering if the citrus is going to survive the winter. So what we're going to do here on the power is run the power from the house straight over to this pole, and there's a power box here. Got an outdoor power box, and we're going to run it from here over to the greenhouse. So the first thing we're going to do is dig a ditch, and because I'm lazy, we're going to do it with a tractor and a bucket. So hang in there and you'll get to see us doing this. Now, when I'm on the tractor, I can kind of see where I need to be. So let's get the tractor and mark it up. Alright guys, that's how you dig a shallow ditch with a front end bucket. Save a little bit of shoveling. Now I just get a shovel and work it out at the ends, and I'll be ready to lay the line in here. All right, so let's get to it. Got to be careful here around the post. We know we've got some wires coming off, but I believe they're coming off the other side. Okay guys, got the wire here. This is type UF-B, 10-2 with ground. This is what you want for the direct burial. It'll be gray in color. All right, so we've got the ditch here dug, and the wire is through the hole in the greenhouse side, and then you see the wire laying in the bottom of the ditch here to the pole. Okay, we'll get the wire laying in the very bottom, and then we've got to dig just a little bit more around the pole and up in the box, and we'll put a piece of conduit on each end just to make sure a weed eater or something like that doesn't do any damage to it. All right, so let's start working the two ends. Okay, so we're inside the box here. I've taken the panel off, which covers everything except the actual breaker trips, but that's off so you can see everything in here. You've got your two hot legs coming down from the pole and the one ground in the middle. And again, if you're not comfortable doing this, then don't do it. In a lot of places you can't legally do this. Where I'm at, this is power going to a shop and a barn, and so I'm okay doing this. I installed this panel, so I know what I'm doing. Typically, you'll have a main at the top. This has got a 200 amp main. Everything below this has to come through the main first. We can flip over one of them individually off, but we can also just kill the main. It kills everything below this. Now keep in mind, even though you shut the main, these that are coming down off the power line are still hot and they can still get you. But nothing down here can get you once this is tripped, as long as you don't touch any of this coming in at the top. So anyway, what we've got to do, we've got to knock this knockout at the bottom out and then bring that PVC up through that knockout. So let's go get a screwdriver and a hammer and we'll knock that out. When you're doing this, especially if you're working it hot, but even if just this is hot, it's smart to get an insulated screwdriver, insulated hammer. This is actually a fiberglass handle. And but stay away from this stuff. This shouldn't be that hard to knock out though. And there I have it. Okay, that's all it was to knocking out that hole. Now I need to get a tape measure and see how long a piece of conduit I need. And I'll go ahead and cut the conduit, and then we'll run our wire up through it. Okay, we're going to be using this male adapter. Got the threads on one side, the 1/2 inch PVC conduit will go in this end. This will actually come up through the hole that we just made. And then there'll be a nut that'll go on the top and hold that in. So we know our conduit needs to be about from here to the bottom of the ditch that we dug. We'll measure that, and that's going to be about 36 inches. So we'll cut a piece of conduit 36 inches. Okay, so we've got some 1/2 inch conduit here. You know, again, this wire is direct burial, so this conduit here really is just to protect. 36 inches, I think I said. About there. It's just to protect the wire above the surface weed eaters and stuff like that. So we'll just cut the conduit now. This is just a 10-foot stick of conduit. You can get it at Lowe's or Home Depot or about any hardware store. And now our 1/2-inch male adapter will go on one end of that. There's really no need in gluing it. We'll take the wire now, and we'll get it where we want it. Make sure that it's through anything that needs to go through. Okay. Now we simply string this on the wire. And it's pretty tight. Actually pretty tight. We'll take the 1/2-inch male adapter off for the moment until we get this through. You wouldn't want to use anything smaller than a 1/2 inch on this number 10. And if I had to go very much further, I would say go to a 3/4. But this 1/2 inch will work. Just keep it straight as you pull. And you could run a little bit of lubricant down it, a little bit of dish soap or something like that to make it a little easier. Okay, hopefully you can see now that it's about the length I want it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the 1/2 inch conduit male adapter on there. That. Now we want to run this up through the hole. Remember, this is hot, so we got to be careful here. Now we bring it up through the knockout that we knocked out. Be careful not to skin our wire as we're doing this. Now it's up through. Position this wire where I want it, down here against the pole. I'll clamp that down low there. So that's basically it. I'll put a clamp right there to hold that up against the pole tight. Now we've got plenty of wire to tie into the breaker. We'll leave this like this until we get the inside part done. That way we know that this wire is not energized when we're working at the other end. We'll be back to this end soon. Okay, so we're inside the greenhouse now, and this is what we have on the other end. And I want to bring my wire up high so that if I'm doing watering and stuff, or overhead misting even, that the box is up near the top to keep the water out of my box. So what I've got to do is bring the conduit in here, get the conduit against this. Hopefully we've got enough conduit to reach up here so that we can tie or clamp to this upper support here. Okay, I've got a double gang box here that I'm going to run this up through. So I went ahead and cut off the little bit of excess wire. Left me enough, left me plenty for this box. I'm going to go ahead and put this box on. Okay, now I'm going to clamp it right here. All right. Let's get some temporary clamps in place. And we'll just use these stainless steel zip ties. That's what I would call them. As a temporary. So to show you these ties, this is just a stainless steel ribbon. Works just like a zip tie. Got a little ball in there. Goes in and it doesn't come back out. You can get these on Amazon. They're pretty cheap. They won't rust. I forget the holding capacity, but it's at least a couple 100 pounds. That's that. All right. Like I say, you can come get some actual conduit clamps and clamp on this a little bit later. this will work for now. We'll go ahead and install these 2 outlets, and then we'll be ready to hook the power up outside. Okay, when you're stripping this wire, you've got a white, a black on the 2 outsides, then you've got a ground running down the middle. Okay, the ground and the white is the ground and neutral. It's not so important that you don't nick those. The ground will be bare, and the white will be tied into the same, basically the same place as the ground. I know there's some out there that's going to argue that's not true, but for keeping it simple, it is. So I'm going to go in between the white and the ground, and then I'm going to, you have to be real careful not to let this slip and cut you. I'm going to angle my blade just slightly toward the ground, so I'm not nicking the white, and do just a little at a time, because if this blade slips, it's going to hurt you. Now I'm far enough I can reach back here and grab it. I don't have to worry about nicking myself or cutting myself. I keep my blade angled slightly toward the ground, and with this wire you've got to go pretty far into the box with your cut. Okay, now as you can see, I've run right down that ground wire. Okay, you can see the exposed ground wire, and the white neutral is not. All right, now we're going to cut off just what I need, and I'm going to be putting a box in here, so I need these wires to connect, we'll say both of them, to the outlet on the right. So this should be plenty about here, so we'll just cut this here. This here. All right, pull that ground wire out now. Okay, and now got my black, which is the hot, the white, which is the neutral, and see if we can strip off some of this outside wire here without cutting our inner wire. So I'm using the biggest hole in these strippers just to cut that outside piece, and then twist it and it'll come off. Do the same thing on your neutral side. Careful not to cut into your wire. Twist it. If it's not quite cut, come back up here, do it again. And it should come off. Okay, now we've got the exposed black and white wire. We'll go ahead and strip off. This is number 10 wire, so we'll put it in the number 10 notch. Strip that off. Okay, so my battery went dead on my camera, so I had to pause just a little bit. So I'm getting back on it now. I want to clarify one thing here. So I run a 10 gauge wire, which is rated for 30 amps. Now some will say, well, that's only a 20 amp socket that you're, or a 20 amp receptacle that you're putting in there. So the receptacle is not protected. And if I put a 30 amp circuit out there, a 30 amp breaker, and I connect this straight to this plug, then the plug could run up to 30 amps across it, which is more than it's rated for, and overheat, and could cause problems. But I wanted to go ahead and put the 10 gauge wire here, so that if I wanted to put a little box or something in here later, split it with a couple of small breakers or something like that, the wire's there. Now I know my wire will run cool. I'll put a 20 amp breaker out there for now. These 20 amp receptacles will be fully protected. And that's how I'm doing it. Okay, so I've got my 2 outlets installed in here. I'm not sure how much detail I'm going to give you on the final video on how I did that, because I don't want to be deemed a self-proclaimed electrician and guide you in the wrong way. The bottom line is you get your 2 outlets in there, and then all we've got to do is put a cover on here, and then if we want to do something more permanent with the zip ties, we can. We'll need to buy some conduit clamps for that. So that's done. So now I'm gonna go back out to the outside box, and let's get that connected, and we'll be done except for the cover nut. So let's go check it out. There is one of these double breakers right here, and one side of this 20 is not used, so that's what I'm gonna put it on for now. So simply find a place to set this. Figure out how much wire you need. Put this wire down here where you want it. So it's going to take me about that much. The neutral bar, the ground bar is right here. So I'll run my neutral and ground to that. And so everything should reach right there. Let's go ahead and cut this to length. A lot of wind here today, so I'm not sure how this audio is going to turn out. Again, cutting down the ground wire between the ground wire and the neutral wire, which is the white wire, and shave it back pretty far. Pull your ground wire out. Okay. Go ahead and let's take off some of this outside covering. Careful not to cut your end of your black wire. Twist it and that comes off. Inspect my black wire. Looks fine. This is going to be your hot wire. Strip off the end. Do the same thing over here to your neutral side. Strip off the end. There you go. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to connect the ground, which is the bare and the white neutral, into this ground bar. I can kill this power. Everything's dead now. My bitty brooder, it'll be fine for just a couple of minutes. And now everything down here is dead. I don't have to worry about touching it. Those are still hot, so you still have to stay away from this. So let's pull the ground. We'll do the ground first. Right into one of those 2. And tighten it down. Same thing with your neutral wire. Decide where you want to come in on it. Put it in one of the slots here on the ground bar. Snug them up. Okay, all that's left here now is your hot wire, which goes to the breaker. Now we want to loosen this lug in here, and then we want to bring that in. And then tighten that lug up. Good and snug. It's in there good. Check my other ones, everything's tight. And we're done. We're now running on this 20 amp circuit right here. The breaker's still off, so the power will be off over there. I'm gonna turn on the main breaker so everything else comes back on. Okay, I heard a beep in the background, which tells me some of my electronics is back on, so everything's got power again. And we're done in here. The cover needs to go back on. We may have to knock out for this one here, but I don't think so because this is a double breaker. It's a single pole twin breaker, so one slot should cover both of those switches. I'm confident we're good in the greenhouse now, so we're going to go ahead and turn power on. It didn't trip right back off, so that's a good thing. We should be hot in the greenhouse, so let's go check it out and see if our outlet is hot. We're back in the greenhouse now. Our outlet should be hot. We don't have a cover on it, so we'll be sure not to stick our fingers in there, but everything should be ready to go. I'm just going to plug this into it, and when I plug this into it, I can't remember if the lights in here are turned on or not. We'll see. No lights come on. Let's flip the switch, and there we go. Lights come on, so the outlet's working. Let's check the other side. It's working too. So there we go. Power is now on in the building. All I got to do is cover up the wire, put a cover on there, figure out how exactly I want to firm this up, probably a conduit clamp, and this part of the project could be complete. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something again. I'm not an electrician, but I understand it, and so it doesn't really scare me. You may be in an area where you can't touch electricity, not only because of danger, but because they're really tight on code. This is a greenhouse out in my yard. Nobody here cares. So really the only thing left to do is cover up the ditch. So let's go do that, and we'll be done with this project. Like, subscribe. God bless. Have a good day.